If I have a gun and you have a sword and we fight, then I'm most likely going to win. And that is why technology is important in Europa Universalis 5. Today I'm going to cover exactly how the tech tree works, what ages are, as well as how to speed up your research progress. Doesn't matter if you've never played a strategy game before or if you've been following the dev diaries since day one. I'm going to take you through the entire system. By the end of this video, you'll have a firm grasp on technology and you'll be able to manipulate it to your ends. If you're looking for more tutorials to teach about other aspects of the game, like for example war or the trade system, then I have a playlist of tutorials pinned to the top of the comments, so go check it out. Let's take a look at advances and technology in Europa Universalis 5. So first things first, I'm going to take you through things on this screen and what they mean at a glance. The first thing to note is we are in the age of traditions. EU5 is split into 6 different ages. I'll go through each age in turn. You can see the end date of each age down here. So for example, the Age of Traditions is going to end May 1342. Over here, Age of Renaissance, January 1437, and then it's every 200 years after that. On the left-hand side of the screen here, we can see each institution in this age. I'll go through what institutions are and how they spread in a bit. Over here, we can see our monthly research progress, our average literacy, and the market prices. Down here, we can see all of the advances that we can research. Right now, we can only research organized religion. I can left click and it will add it to the queue. That will then unlock us being able to queue other technologies. That's because if I click here, you'll see that this is in fact a research tech tree. There's a lot of different advancements here. We start with a lot of them in the Age of Traditions already unlocked, but the one I've selected over here is organized religion. Once we research that, we'll unlock the ability described underneath it, in this case 50 possible clerics in towns and cities, as well as some max literacy for clergy, and it'll unlock down here. If I wanted to, for example, focus on the stability investment over here from devotion to the Virgin Mary, I'm going to click OK there. And then after we've done that, we are going to go and research over here. I add that to the queue and it will research them all in time. If I want to remove something from the tree, I would right click and remove it. Obviously, removing a tech at the base of the tree is going to remove the previous ones. A lot of the uniqueness from different nations in Europa Universalis 5 comes from the technology tree. For example, over here, universal Christianity, you can see is a special advance because we are Christian. Special advances are denoted through a little icon here. For example, we are a monarchy, therefore we have access to these ones. This is true for the future. For example, in the Age of Renaissance, we can grab these two because we are also Christian, or specifically Catholic. Then there are specific ones to do with nations. For example, we have, because we're playing as France, we can have Northern Mannerism or Reliance on Privateers. Then there's also culture group based one. For example, over here, our primary culture as the Ottomans is Turkish. Any of these primary cultures and we would have access to nomadic legacy. So depending on what nation you're playing, what culture group you're part of, what religion you're following, and what government type you have, that will determine what kinds of techs you will have already researched at the start of the game, as well as researching going forwards. For example, fratricide if you're the Ottomans. If I were to not do any research, then my research points will accrue until we get this pop-up, which is reaching research capacity. So we can have 16.42 points of stored research. Any more than that, and it's then going to waste. That means that with organized religion, once I select it, all of those research points will automatically be applied here. I'll go through base amounts and how that works in a bit, but generally speaking, you always want to be researching something. There's no reason to not. Now, if I click on the ages side of things, as I mentioned earlier, some advances need to be unlocked via institutions. Over here, meritocracy, we don't have the relevant institution to be able to select it. There are 3 institutions per age, and once at least 20% of your populace has been exposed to the institution, you can accept it. The cost of embracing this institution is going to be impacted by a couple of factors. At base, the higher percentage present in your country, the cheaper it's going to be, and then it's impacted by the cost of paper in this case, as well as the fact that we are mildly innovative. There is even an institutions map mode that I can show you here. For example, see this province right here? It has all 3 advances, whereas over here, for example, they only have feudalism. This means that when an age begins and an institution is spawned in, you're going to be locked out of those trees until you manage to get hold of them. So how do we get hold of them? Well, institutions will spread over time. So over here, we can see that meritocracy originated in Khan, which means it's already over in China. So if we switch over to the Great Yuan, you can see that they already have all 3 institutions. Whereas, for example, I cannot pronounce that, Muangluan already has feudalism and legalism, and meritocracy is slowly making its way there. How quick this spread is depends on a multitude of factors. The most important of which are, is the institution present next door? If it is, it's going to be super easy for you to get it in your province. Then things like the satisfaction and development of the location itself, and then it's hampered by the physical size of the location. But it's not just physical proximity that will help with this. For example, if I am the Khmer Empire, facilitating trades with markets that have this present will mean that Angkor, our market center, will start to get exposed to those institutions. So you can see that because we're importing goods from locations with meritocracy from it, and specifically I'm importing pepper from the Guangzhou province in South China, it started this process. Obviously, June 1748 isn't ideal. That's because it's just a singular trade route right now. But that is how to get institutions into your country a little bit faster than just waiting for them to get across to you. And now it's the dawn of the age of the Renaissance. At the start of every single age, you'll have a choice between an administrative focus, a diplomatic focus, and a military focus. This is a one-time choice for the next 100 years. What it does is it unlocks these technologies for you. So it's worth having a look through and seeing if there's anything that is super necessary. That doesn't mean that if you've gone military focus, you are going to suddenly win every single battle, or if you've gone admin focus, that you are never going to be able to have a colonization focus. It's just a gentle skewing because it does unlock a couple of handy little things. For example, the religious war casus belli in this administrative focus selection, or claim fabrication over here in diplomacy. So if I'm going to go on the admin side of things, then in the Age of Renaissance, all the way down here, for example, is the possibility of unlocking the religious war. So that is how to unlock the possibility of researching technologies. How about researching them themselves? Well, over here you can see that every tech has a base cost of 25 technology points. We have a monthly research progress of 1.36 here. So every month we'll put that 1.36 monthly research into a technology, and once we hit the required technology points, in this case 25, the technology will be researched. It's worth noting that in each age, the technologies get progressively more expensive by 15%. So over here in the Age of Revolutions, the Enlightenment, for example, will cost the base 25 multiplied by an additional 75%. However, if we progress into the Age of Renaissance, the previous technology era will have -8 to the base. So it's only going to cost us 17 research points at base versus 25 to research previous technologies. The idea is as you progress through the ages, technologies are a little bit trickier to research to compensate for the fact that you'll probably have a lot more monthly research progress, whereas researching from a previous era will be a lot easier. Okay, so what goes into your monthly research progress? As a settled country, we have a base of 1.00. It's important to distinguish between base monthly research progress and percentages. So here are our base numbers, so 1.07, and then they're multiplied by these percentages. So here it says the power of our liturgical language, I'll get to that very, very shortly, gives us 0.07. Then our average literacy of 10.48, the number of embraced institutions, and then our clergy estate satisfaction. So the happier our clergy are, and the higher our literacy, the faster we are going to be researching. Now let's focus on this power of the liturgical language real quick. That is the language that is used in our main religion. For us, our liturgical language is Latin. This has a language power of 37.64%. How's that determined? Well, it's expressed as a percentage of the strongest language power. So in this case, Mandarin represents the strongest power. We have a score of 47,000 odd, and so our language power is 37% roughly of that. As you see here, for every 1,000 clerics of the primary religion where the liturgical language is used, gives 20. I wouldn't think about this too hard. Getting to the numbers doesn't really give you too much benefit, but generally speaking, the stronger your liturgical language, the faster your research. For example, if we flip over to the Mamluks to check out their liturgical language, it is going to be Arabic. And that is a slightly weaker language in terms of language power, and so it sits at around 26%. And I believe, if my maths is right, that's going to give me around 0.05. Yes, okay, good. So this scales up to a 0.2 bonus. So essentially, if the language that you use is very, very powerful, you get a bonus to your research progress. You might think that this would make the Great Yuan ridiculously powerful in terms of their language, but unfortunately for them, their liturgical language is Tibetan. And even if they flip over to their religion being Sanjiao, that is classical Chinese, not Mandarin. And so it's an even weaker liturgical language. Some religions allow you to change your liturgical language, some do not. But let's focus on things that are easier to control. Welcome to the Kingdom of France, but this time in the year 1807. And now we can see that our monthly research progress is a lot higher. We still have the same settled country, the liturgical language is a lot more powerful, but the key part here is that our average literacy is much higher, and we have a lot more institutions embraced. And you can see here that the base research progress needed is 25. It's minused by 8 because of a previous age, and because an age of absolutism advance, it goes to 60% increase. So that scales from 15% to 70% in 15% jumps, depending on the age that you look at. Technology can be a little bit daunting to look at in terms of the tech trees and the research tab and the ages and the institutions, but my advice is to look in advance as to what you kind of want to see. For example, if I was in the age of traditions here, I'd look and go, well, I want archers. Or if I'm English and want the war bows in the age of Renaissance, okay, well, that's something I need. Or if I'm French and I want this army morale, then I go, okay, well, Elan, I need that. And then it'll queue it up and you can go about your day. If you want to really literacy and institution max, then making sure your clergy is loyal, making sure you have high literacy is very important. How do you get high literacy? There are buildings like libraries that you can build that will increase that, and it will also help things like your institution growth. So a combination of technologies and buildings will allow your max literacy to increase, but bear in mind that with literacy, your pops become more aware. As the tooltip says, generally speaking, literacy is good, but it will increase the impact of the market price on the needs of the pop satisfaction. What that means is if a pop finds a good to be too expensive, then it's going to be even more upset about it because it can read the prices. So a well-educated populace is a little harder to please. And that is everything you need to know about technology in Europa Universalis 5. It's a fairly simple system and one that you can take advantage of quite nicely. It does allow for the different stratifications of countries in terms of flavor, but in terms of specialization, in terms of the way that you or the AI would like to go. I have a bunch of EU5 tutorials that are already out and ready to be watched. So if that's something that interests you, go check out the pinned comment because I'll have a playlist there. Otherwise, chaps, if you want to see more EU5 content, make sure to like the video, subscribe, and I'll see you all next time. Goodbye.